Hello, Stumpin' Friends. Just trying to get things squared up here for today's class. Going to be making our second two cards for the quite curvy coffee break class. And I'm just a couple minutes early, so just hang on for a moment or two here. Get things all set up and allow people to find the link. Let's see. Oh, I think I found it there. Okay. So I've got my coffee. It's all ready to go. It's really windy out there today. Not as sunny either. So this warm cup of coffee in my hands, just the heat of it feels nice right now. Yeah, I'm just a little chilly. There, that'll keep me going. Just had a couple more swigs of the coffee and that'll get me through. Okay. So these are the two cards that we did last week. There was kind of a purple posy theme going on. This week's cards they're quite different. They're not as elegant. They're more of cards that you could use for a variety of occasions and perhaps a variety, I can't say a variety, but both genders, I guess that's what I want to say. So cards that aren't quite so pretty, but you might be able to use this for a guy or a teen. Just a colorful, even a child, colorful stripes on this one. And this one, I was also trying to go for a card that would work for a male as well. And the outside with the barnwood and the greenery, I think that works out pretty well that way. But then I did on the inside end up doing a little bit of floral here. So depending on who you're making it for, you may or may not want to stamp the floral swag on the inside like that. So this is considered like a bridge card, and it opens just like that. It's kind of got a fun fold to it, so it'll be fun to work on that today. So we're going to start with this card first. It's a quicker and a little easier. We'll call it our warm-up card, and then we'll go on to the bridge card. So today, so if you're just joining me, hello, and give me a shout if you're following along. I know one of the people who were supposed to be doing the class today is sick in bed with a bad headache. So I'm sorry, Deb, you can't join us live, but hope by the time you get to watch the video, you're feeling better. And also hello to Anne, who's going to be watching the replay of the video because she's not on Facebook. So we're going to be using Bermuda Bay ink and Memento Black ink. But if you don't have Bermuda Bay, I think you could easily use one of these other colors here on the stripes. So this is Granny Apple Green, and this one is Blackberry Bliss. And if you had none of those colors, you could just stamp in black too, because it's kind of an all-purpose color, a neutral. So I've got my Hooray for You already mounted on my clear block, but if you don't want to use Hooray for You, these two other curvy ones, sentiments, wishing you the happiest of birthdays and thinking of you makes my day, will also fit in there. The You're One in a Million, I'm not sure if it will fit as well. You might have to, but you can, because it's photopolymer, you can adjust it and move it a little bit. So you could probably adjust it to make it fit. You'll notice that I've got these stamps sitting on the outside of my case. That's because those are the stamps that I'll be using for the next card. So if you're wondering what you need to get ready, this big swag of greenery, the smaller swag of flowers, the middle bird, and the made with love just for you, those will be all used in the second card. And so just grab the pieces for this. If anybody out there is looking to purchase the Quite Curvy stamp set, I have one last free kit available, and they can follow along on the recordings to make the cards. And if you don't have, or if you already have the stamp set, the kit is $16. So there's just the one left. And so the dark green, that's the one that we'll be using for the second card. So I'll set that one off to the side there. The stripy pieces. So this is the Oh So Ombre paper from Celebration, and a lot of you have probably already seen that. I'm going to be putting my final Celebration order in on Saturday. Sunday is the last day for Celebration, but I don't want to wait until it gets kind of kooky on that last day and busy. I think I might have punched out 2 dragonflies for you because, you know, just in case one got lost, and they're pretty quick and easy to punch out. So now you're going to notice that you've got a small piece of paper of white and then the card base, and it's like, that seems really small. But basically what's going to happen is we're going to adhere these 3 pieces of designer paper down, and then we're going to cut in the middle and separate. Cut and separate. And here's kind of the formula that I used. So normally this layer, this top layer of the card would be 5 1/4 inches tall. But then I needed to account for 3/4 of an inch here in which to stamp. So it's 5 1/4 minus 3/4, so it's actually 4 1/2 inches tall. I hope I did that right. And now I'll check on my measurements here, and yeah, it's 4 1/2 inches tall, and then 4 1/4 wide. So make sure that you're not gluing your designer papers this way onto the card. They need to be going the tall way. And when we glue them down, because after they're glued, we're going to be running them through a cutting machine, and it's going to have these little holes that that the die cuts out. I don't want there to be a big blob of glue in there and to hit that big blob of glue and have it really hard to cut with the die. So I'm just going to be using tape runner to adhere these pieces. And when I was doing my sample here, I was doing the lighter shade of ombre at the top and getting darker at the bottom. And yeah, these are just like the 6-inch strips from the pack of paper, and you just can go in after and trim off the excess pieces. So I don't know how close or far in I'm going here. Once I stick this down, I'm just going to hold it up and get it kind of sort of straight, and then once I kind of have it straight, I'll lay it down. Let's see, what does that end up being? Oh, it's about 1/4 inch from the edge, so ish, you know. And then after the blackberry, we'll put the Bermuda base strip on next. It's hanging off the edge of the paper there, so it's stuck a little bit to my mat. And then I'm making this little distance between these 2 strips fairly narrow, because I want to kind of make them look like they're a cluster of stripes, and that, yeah, they're sort of related to one another. If I put them too wide, I don't know, it might, they'll look like too many separate entities scattered all over the card. So, and here's the granny apple green. Okay. So, yeah. Okay, now I can come back in and do a little surgery. Okay. And I'm just going to throw these little pieces out or recycle them or whatever. But I don't know, maybe you could use them for something. I suppose if you wanted to have a little on the inside of the card, what's the order that they're in? They're in green. I don't know what this is even going to look like. This is just an experiment. You could have green, oops, stuck those ones together, blue, purple. They need more adhesive on them, but if you wanted to, you could save, sure. You could have them just in the inside of the card as an extra little ta-da. It's almost like a flag. Okay, now here comes the die cutting part, and I just was looking at my little dots here that are going to get die cut out, and there's a hole from last time that I had a little piece of paper stuck in there. I'm going to grab some wax paper and just give this a wax up with a wax job. And hi Glenda, how are you doing today? Now, I'm gonna grab my machine, and I think I gotta make room for it. So I can see things are gonna go all over if I don't clear a space. All right. So I've got the main platform, and then I've got this extra layer for it for cutting, and then I've got my one cutting mat, and I'm gonna not put things right up to the edge exactly, stagger it a little, and then I'm going to layer this. Oh, and here's the part where you want to get the words and hold them up, and before you get the words, this is important. Okay, so there's a cutting edge on one side and not a cutting edge on the other. And if you want your card to be like mine with the polka dots, the little, I don't know what to call them, the little row of dots at the top, that means that your cutting edge needs to be on the bottom. So let me double check. Yeah, there's my cutting edge, and I'm turning it over so that it's at the bottom. If you do it the other way around, and you totally can, there's not no right or wrong, I guess, but then your little row of polka dots will be along the bottom edge of the card. And I kind of liked that don't know what's that on the dragonfly there. I kind of like that the dragonfly was on the opposite side of the polka dots, just for a little bit of balance. So now that I have established that my cutting edge is along the bottom, I'm going to grab those words again, whichever words you'd like to use. And I think I pretty much have to have, if I move the die too much to the left, then it doesn't match up so well with the words. So the die is more over to the right. And I'd say the proportions are 2/3 at the top and 1/3 at the bottom. Yeah. And if it's helpful for you, what I can do is I can just let you know that, okay, so that's like about 1.5 inches from the bottom on the left side, and about 1.25 inches on the right side. But the neat thing about the curves is that it kind of makes it unique every time you cut. It's just a slightly different depending on what angle you get and whatnot. So I'm going to go for about there. There. And my plates are staggered and ready to go through. Whoops. No, not ready to go through. Square. And make sure everything is parallel. That will help considerably. Okay, there we go. You know what? I'm going to roll back again, just make sure all those little polka dots got cut out. Well, thanks, Glenda says. Was busy making another one from last night class and missed the beginning of this one. Oh, well, you're keeping busy. You have things that you're doing, and it's always good to have things to work on and focus on. And yeah, okay. So I think I can move this machine out of the road for now. Try and do this without having all the plates go clattering to the floor. There we go. Yeah, so there are a lot of little pieces in those dots, and of course my die brush is not close for me to reach, but that's where I would go with the die brush and just pop all those little pieces out, and then it would be ready to go and use again. I don't like to cut and embed paper on paper on paper in there, because then it gets built up and then it doesn't cut very well, because there's paper built up in there and preventing the cutting edges from reaching into the project to cut. Okay, so when I did this card the first time, I glued my pieces on temporarily. I think we did this last week too, so that I could stamp in the middle and make sure everything was good with the stamping, and then I could remove the temporarily placed pieces and glue them down permanently. And actually, when I glued them down permanently, I used dimensional, so it gives it a really neat, yeah, these two pieces are popped up, and then the words are kind of in that little trough in the middle. I don't know if that's really the word for it, trough. Sounds like they're pigs or something. Okay, here we go. Ooh, just a little bit. I didn't really need to use that much adhesive. Okay, now I'm going to take and I'm going to rub these on my jeans so that I pick up all those fibers. Yeah, and this is just turning it into the temporary adhesive, and put that down so that the two side edges and bottom edge have about the same amount of space. Here I'm rubbing again on my jeans, creating more temporary adhesive. There we go. And, oh, I'm just looking. So where I cut these strips of the Osa Ombre paper, it was closer to the lighter edge. When I compare it to this card, look at that. These ones were a little bit further into the strip, and it was a little bit darker. So depending on, yeah, what part of the paper that you got from me, your card may be a little lighter or a little darker. I have this feeling that this could go up maybe just a little bit. So there. Ooh, working on the white on white, sometimes it's hard to see. Maybe this one could move. I know what the trick is. The problem is that I don't have my extra light on right now. Well, reach. This will help, I think. I hope. Yeah, that'll help me to see a little bit better. My eyes aren't what they used to be. Okay, call it good. I'm one of these people who just is a fuss budget. Now I'm going to stamp my hooray for you in the little space. And, you know, I'm going to grab, I find the photopolymers stamps so much better with the foam mat under them. So I'm going to grab that. Glenda, I'm going a lot slower than last night. Just taking my time, not in any big hurry. You know what? I'm going to move. I'm going to adjust this just a little bit because you can. You don't have to, but there. Let's see if that fits better with the curve. Now I want to adjust it even more. Oh, Shauna, just commit. Okay, there we go. You're moving slower too? Okay. Good. That's what coffee break snapping is meant to be, relaxing, because it's coffee break. All right. Now I'm going to go back and grab some dimensionals. So I'll twist that off and twist that off. What the heck is that? And I'm gonna like pull the edges off of my dimensionals because I think this would be handy for putting these layers down. I want it so that it's fairly well propped up. Oh, look at that. You can even bend them. You can bend the dimensionals to go with the curves too. Yay. There. And yeah, no saggy middles. Can I get some in the middle here? There. Okay, that will be well supported. There we go. Yeah, I want it to be sturdy so that it is obviously at a different height from the sentiment, from the words. Peeling off the backings of the dimensionals is the most time-consuming part of this whole project. Okay, so something like that. Now, I don't know if you have any idea of who you might be making this card for, but there could be perhaps something else that, depending on what it's for or who it's for, that you might want to put on it as an accent instead of a dragonfly. Yeah, I mean, it could be a butterfly, or the other day I made one of these cards and I tied a piece of twine onto one of our heart charms from the Love You Always suite, and I glue dotted the bow with the heart charm just right there, and that looked kind of cute too. Okay, come here, glue dots. I'm gonna put 2 glue dots in the back and just fold them in half, and that way you get a little bit of dimension for the dragonfly, but not a ton of dimension because it's already sitting on a piece of cardstock that has been dimensionaled up. So there we go. Hooray for you. And yeah, simple, kind of modern card, and could be used for, yeah, quite a few different ages and stages, and probably both genders too. And to celebrate some things as well. So I'm going to set that off to the side. If you have any questions about it, just give me a shout. But the colors in this one kind of made me happy. It was very cheery, very different from the elegant cards that we did last week. So, okay. Now we'll go on to the bridge card. And I think we're going to do all the stamping first using that black ink pad, and then we'll do the die cutting second. And some of the pieces that are in your package are going to have to be cut. So if you don't have your paper trimmer close by, you might want to grab that. Okay, so we're going to be stamping on this long strip of white. We're going to be stamping on the nesting label. The other pieces I'll just keep tucked in here for now. And so, made with love, just for you. Trying to remember which block I was going to use. I think this one. You know what? When you go to put something on the block, if you, it could stick crookedly. You know, if you accidentally just pull it one way or another. So what we learned from Stampin' Up! Is if you turn your message upside down and lay it down all by itself so it just goes back to its natural straight shape, then you just pick it up with the block like that. Okay, so that's going to go on there. And then again, this one, I don't want to change the shape on it because then it won't fit into the Thinlet die that cuts it out. So I'm just going to leave it at its natural shape and pick it up. That's going to stamp here. And then the bird, the middle bird is the one that I'm using. That's also going to stamp onto here. And this inside swag part, I guess we'll have to stamp that after because we have to cut those little pieces off. So I'll just set this one off to the side for now, but we'll do the majority of the stamping to begin with. And, oh, found it. There it is. My foam mat. So I don't think you have as much choice for the words on this card. Either the Made with Love Just for You or the smaller Hello are pretty much the only ones that would fit. The other ones are curvier and longer. I mean, you could ink up just parts of them, but with the curves, they don't work as well. So this is just the right size for this label. Ooh, I think I got lots of black on there. There we go. Okay, done with that one. And now we're gonna make up the swag. Anytime I have a great big stamp, a long or wide stamp like that, I just like to ink it up upside down. Find it easier. Okay, and there's foliage and a little birdie. There's enough room on mine. I could like stamp two birds and I could have, oh, you know what? That's the wrong bird. Oh, I'm so sorry. Okay, so this is going to be a bird for the inside of my card, or maybe for the envelope or something. I took the wrong one. I wanted, how did I get that mixed up? Huh. Which bird? You know what? I think I said the middle bird, and on that's the right one from the picture here, but I think I had my birds mixed up on the inside of my, well, yeah, they're not even, there it is. This is the one that I want. Okay, let's try this again. Speaking of birds, I did go out for a quick walk yesterday, and it did almost sound like I heard a bird singing, not just the winter chatter, but actually singing. There, okay. We'll need the black, but not for a moment or two. Now, the cutting. So I'm going to grab my machine again here. Here's where I need like an assistant. Please hand me the machine. And now I should probably get, well, we'll see how it looks. I was thinking I should probably get a sticky note to hold things in place, but we'll see how it goes. So that's lining up with that there very nicely. Yeah, I can just see as soon as I move my hand, the Thinlet moves about. So I'm just going to grab my sticky notes. Okay. Here we go. Like that. And two birds. Let's see if I can figure out which bird is which here. Okay. Ooh. Just realized this bird is kind of sort of on the edge of the plate, and I don't know if it's going to cut properly, so I'm going to need to move this over a little. Shoot. There, I think I managed to keep the line up though. There's a bird, and here's a bird. Okay. Don't breathe. Just set the plates down very gently. There. Gently. And oh, except that I just realized now that's not going to work. I need to pull that back so it is going to be actually on the cutting plate. Hanging off the cutting plate will not work very well. I don't even know if you can see the one end of my okay. See if we can get this to work. There. Ooh, it was a pretty big bite for the machine, but it went in. There we go. Okay, crossing fingers that these are all holding together in their spots. Oh, my bird moved. Oh well, this was the bonus optional bird anyways, so I think my other bird is in a good spot. Yeah, it's fine. And did the swag cut out? It did. Yeah. All right. All these little bits and bots, should bring my recycle bin closer, and so I can have a spot to put all my pieces. So now I'm going to grab the trimmer and trim up a couple of the pieces that are going to be separated out on the front and the inside of the card. So these are each 1-inch pieces, I believe, but I'm just going to double check because I would hate to tell you wrong. Got string, the twine was it, or thread was attached. Yeah, 1 inch. It's attached to my shirt there, and so cut off 1 inch from that edge. So that will go on one side, and cut off 1 inch from the other edge. Kind of getting like this whole flag thing again here. There's the middle piece. And now we need to do just a couple cuts on this shaded spruce card base. So these are going to be 1 1/4 inch from the edge. But you have to start from the score line here, which is at 4 1/4. So I'm going to move my blade, my cutting blade, to here where it says 1, 2, 3, 4, 4 1/4. Match up. There's a little indentation on the side of the blade, so I'm matching up that little indentation with the 4 1/4 mark. And then there's the 1 1/4 here. I'll match the edge up with. There. And when I put that down, I can double check, maybe adjust it just a little bit that way so that those little indent lines on the blade are lined up with the score. And there we go. And then I can do the other side. I'm going to measure just from the right-hand side of the ruler along the top. So there's 1 1/4 on this side. This time I'll start at the 0 mark and cut all the way up to the 4 1/4, but it's really hard for me to see 4 1/4, so I'm just again going to match up with the score line there. Oops, there. Okay, so there's the flaps, and you need 2 more 1-inch pieces here for the inside. So 1 inch off that edge and 1 inch off this edge. Now I believe that we're done with the trimmer, so I'm going to set the trimmer off to the side. And if you like this idea of having the little swag pieces stamped there, and you're okay with, having blossomy kind of flowery things, you can go ahead and stamp those on these 2 little 1-inch strips. Oh, grab my mat again. So I just kind of centered my floral swag like that. And then when I stamped it the second time, I turned it the opposite way. So I had one swag going down and one swag going up. I'm not really sure which way is up and which way is down, but yeah. That way one was curving in one direction and one's curving the other direction. All right, so those are going to be for the inside of the card. We'll get to that in just a bit. The stamping, I think, is done. Now we can do some putting together. So the first layers that can go on are, can I get this to stay down? Are the wood grain embossed pieces of crumb cake. I find when I use my Stampin' Seal on embossed paper, it just lifts the layer of paper up. The adhesive is extremely strong. So I'm just going to use liquid glue for these guys. Also gets right into all the little nooks and crannies. There. Oops. Not sure if I'm even on the screen. Sometimes I start working lower and lower to the bottom of my mat, and maybe what I'm doing disappears right off the bottom. Okay, there we go. 1, 2, and 3. Now, sometimes running an embossed piece of the cardstock through the paper trimmer makes it a little bit ragged. And actually, I think that's okay because this is kind of supposed to be like barnwood. The other thing that I haven't done, but with this particular card, but it might look good too, is to sponge a little bit of the edges and give it a little bit more of a distressed look. I think that would look really good. Now, next thing, I'm going to grab the swag that's cut out, and I'll tell you what colors that I used to color mine. I used Stampin' Blends, and I used a variety of greens. And the idea of the greens that I decided to use, I just went and looked at the pack of paper. Oh my goodness, it has all those greeneries in it. And it's from the annual catalog. Oh wait, I've got an annual catalog right here so I can tell you. And I picked Shaded Spruce and 2 of the other greens that were in that pack of paper. And that's what I decided to go with for coloring it. So depending on what colors you happen to have, the Forever Greenery paper, that's the one I was trying to think of. Yeah, Forever Greenery. So I used light shaded spruce, so that would coordinate a little bit with the cardstock. And I used, I think this is light old olive, and then dark soft seafoam. So there's 2 kind of bluey greens, a dark bluey green, a light bluey green, and more of a yellowy green. And I just interspersed, I interchanged using those colors. I think the very biggest leaves, I went in first and colored the very biggest leaves with the light shaded spruce. And I'm not going to color all of these because that will be, if you just happen to be watching and not making along with me, then it'll be kind of boring. But yeah, I colored, like that was a big one. This was a big one. This was a big one. Ooh, there's a big one. Yeah. And I'm going to be able to go back in and color these on my card. I'll just put, when I do color them, I'll put a little piece of scrap paper underneath so that none of the colors bleed through onto the front of my card. But I just want to be able to show you how I adhered the swag to the front of the card. I grabbed some dimensionals. There they are. And I think I wanted to make sure it was fairly well supported, so I wanted more than one dimensional. So I kind of went one at the very edge and one just in from that. So like that, and one right beside it. I could almost even put like a small dimensional there, like one of the mini ones if I wanted to. Just making sure the bridge is secure at one end, and then I did the same thing at the other end. Dimensional, dimensional. We'll throw a mini in there if you want. So I glued this down first, and then that gave me an idea of where I could put the label, the nesting label die next. So like something like that. It's kind of, you know what, when I'm gluing it down like this, kind of makes me think there's a smile across the bottom. So this I did dimensional. I did not dimensional the label die. I'm just going to glue that flat, because then I'm going to dimensional the robin. I'm calling it a robin because I did give it a little bit of a reddish breast. And here I'll show you how I colored my robin. Doesn't necessarily mean you have to color yours like this. I'll just, this is how mine happened to go. So that I used, for the red breast part, I used light Calypso coral. I found like our cherry or real red or poppy, they were like really, really intense. And I guess some of the birds, they are pretty intense with their color, the color on their breast, but I just thought it was a little bit too much. And then the other thing is I used the coral for the little blossoms on these two inside swags, so it kind of coordinated. So yeah, just like that. That's how I did. Sort of that little half moon shape there. Maybe that's going to be a little too far. Ooh, that's a really stiff marker to get that lid on. Then the other two colors that I used are light and dark crumb cake. So I started with the light. I feel like I want to throw a piece of scrap paper under here so that my ink doesn't bleed through. This is one of the little mini grid sheets from the Stamparatus. I like these little mini guys. They just take up a small space for something like this. So now I'm going to go in and I'm going to color actually the whole entire rest of the bird with light crumb cake. And I'm even going to, there. I'm going to even go in with the bullet tip, and I'm going to color in circles, just kind of blending the Calypso and the crumb cake together. They don't really blend quite like the two tones that are kind of side-by-side color tones. These ones are quite different from each other, but it makes it so that the line is not so harsh there. And then I'm going to go in with my dark crumb cake. Ooh, another hard lid. I'm going to put a little bit of darker parts on that tail there, maybe along the wing. Make him a little bit darker over the top of his head. Maybe a little, just a tiny bit of dark underneath the wing at the back. And this is so eensy weensy tiny. You probably can't even see it, but maybe that's a bit of a closer up. And now you can see there's a little bit of a harsh line between the dark crumb cake and the light crumb cake. So now I can take the light one again and use that bullet tip and just color in circles between the dark and the light and blend those two. So then it just doesn't look as harsh. There. Okay. Now, turn the bird like that so you can get a closer look. I don't know if that's even, maybe it's going to look, I don't know if the camera is even, yeah, I guess the camera is focusing on it. Okay, sometimes because there's a delay, I can't tell if it's focusing on the bird or if it's focusing on something in the background and the bird is all fuzzy and blurry. Okay, so we'll perch the bird here at the top. And this is how I did my thread. And again, it may or may not be how you want to use your linen thread. But I wanted to try something that was just a little different from a regular bow and not so pretty. You know, I wanted it to be something that you could, you know, give on a card to a masculine recipient. So I took like, how many? 3 fingers. I think it was 3 fingers. And I held it at the top with my thumb. And then I went around the 3 fingers 1, 2, 3 times. Ooh, okay. I guess I got extra here. And then I pulled the 3 parts together to make it, yeah, like that. Now, I took and I just tied my thick 3 pieces into a 1 knot in the middle. And I think I put my fingers too close together because okay. That's how I did mine though. But the other thing is if you did have thread left over, you could tie, go round and round the middle there. I'm going to hold, maybe I was around 4 fingers. I might have lied the first time. Let's try it with 4. I think I just needed more to work with. 1, 2, 3. Yeah, there we go. And then pull it into one thick bundle of thread and tie an overhand knot in the middle. I'm shooting for the middle. Hopefully it'll be in the middle. There. Yeah, it makes it thicker and more like say if you went into the barn and you saw some rope that was wound up and hanging on that's kind of like the barn look I was going for. But like I said, it might not be what you care for, so you can do yours differently if you like. But yeah, got the barn theme, and I'm just going to cut off these little bits that are hanging out the edge here. And I used a couple glue dots to adhere mine. I'm pretty sure that Canada Post will ding you for extra postage if you make if you do a thick knot like this. Mind you, you know what? I didn't pull it super tight in the middle right now, so might be not as thick as my other card. Okay, and which side do I like better? Kind of like that side. So I'll put my dimensionals there. And I'll use a couple of them because it's holding a lot of thread in place. Oh my goodness. The dimensional wants to, or not the dimensional, they're glue dots. You know what I mean. And glue dots want to stick to me more than they want to stick to the thread. Okay. There. Okay. So, and you can take and you can separate the little, they're kind of like, it's like a triple bow at one end and a double bow at the other. You can kind of separate them a little bit to make it fuller. There we go. And yes, mine will look so much nicer when I've finished coloring it, but I just wanted you to get the idea of how I adhered that bridge. And then for the inside, you've got 3 pieces, and I found it easiest to do them one at a time. So lift up the bridge and glue, let's see, how do I want to do this? Oh, I want one in and one out. There. So maybe I'll grab, there, hold that down. Now I can see to line up the edges of the cardstock and get the border the same all the way around. Where if that middle flap was lifted up, I just would have no idea how to center those properly and have the visual cue to put it into its spot. So there's a little bit more to this card. This one takes longer, but it's kind of fun. It's a unique fold, and I know when I give people cards that have the fun folds, they tend to enjoy them because they kind of like, oh wow, look at how this works. Here we go. The colors I used for coloring my swag on the inside, I used the light shaded spruce again, and I used the dark soft seafoam just a little bit, and I also used the light calypso coral, which had been used on the breast of the bird. And I'm looking, you know what, I put a lot more color, I went higher with my coral on the first bird than I did with this one. I kind of like that, how it was up a little bit more. Wonder if I can get it there. So yeah, so every place that there's a blossom, oh goodness, strong arms, Shauna. This lid is on like so tight. Okay, so I would have colored here with the calypso and here. Any of these little blossoms. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yeah, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 on that side, and then same thing going up in the other direction. And I used the soft seafoam, but again, if you want to use olive, you could do that too. And I did the soft seafoam on these little trailing branches. So here's a trailing branch here, and here's a trailing branch here. So 2 trailing branches is where I did the soft seafoam. And then all the rest of the foliage, the leaves and the stems, I did with the light shaded spruce. So this is how mine looks like in the end. And maybe you might think that's a little bit too much shaded spruce in there. Maybe you'd like to get a little bit more of the dark soft seafoam in there, or maybe pull in some of the old olive or whatever other greens that you used on the front. Not everybody might have exactly these same greens as I do. That's why I thought, oh, if we just do a variety of greens, kind of all the greens sort of go together, and kind of just like for that Forever Greenery paper, there's peacock in there, and there's greens of all kinds. It's just amazing. So that's how that card works, and we're done. The Quite Curvy class. There's this week's cards. One last look at them. And I mentioned that the next coffee break class, which will be the last 2 Thursdays of March, I'm going to be making 4 different cards 2 on one Thursday and 2 on the following Thursday with the Garden Wishes bundle. And if you have the Garden Wishes bundle and you just want to get the card package, it's $16 for the 4 cards in the package. If you're out of town and need it mailed, there's an extra $5 for the postage. If you don't have this bundle and you'd like to get it, your card package will be free with your order. But I need to know by March 4th if you'd like to order it. And if you order it before the end of February, like order by February 27th, I can throw it in with my last celebration order, and you can choose a free celebration item with it too. So that's all I think that I have to share for those cards. Glenda, I think you're still with me there. Do you have any questions? Did they kind of work out for you, or have you mostly just been watching, or have you been stamping along with me? I'm going to grab a swig of my cold coffee while I'm waiting to see your reply come through. Oh, Glenda maybe didn't catch my question. Maybe Glenda had to go answer the door, or I don't know. Or maybe you're still trying to type it in. Yeah, I'm just curious as to how people have, if they've been stamping along with me for the coffee break stamping, or if they've just been mostly watching and then going back and creating the cards later. I have been working on the first one, messed up, so taking me more time. Oh, darn. Oh, shoot. Okay. So yeah, well, it's nice kind of once you get the visual in your head as to how it works, then, then you can, you feel more confident, seeing all those steps and how they get put together. So yeah, but the video is going to save here to the private Facebook page, private Facebook group, and I will be emailing it to Anne, who is going to be watching it from her email account. She'll get the link there. And if anybody else would like to make these 4 cards, if you're hopping on later and you'd like a package to do these 2 cards that we made today, plus the 2 purple posy cards for last week, I have 1 package left, and I can get that out to you. So thanks so much, Glenda, for stopping by and having coffee with me today. We'll talk to you again another day. Hope the rest of your week finishes off well. It's Friday tomorrow, so have a great end to your week there. Talk to you later. Bye for now.